everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I am bringing you my February wrap up. I didn't do too bad reading wise, but completing my prompts for my TBR game, I don't think I did as well. I think I did okay, but I had a large TBR this month and I struggled like hell with it. But to begin with, we had Polathon, which was hosted by JD Way Reads for the first week of Feb, and I read 3 books for that. I read The Northern Lights graphic novel by Philip Pullman. This was the prompt for reading a book with an animal character or an animal friend. I think I gave this 3 stars. It wasn't too bad. It wasn't amazing. Yeah, I read it. It was decent, just not a favourite. It didn't have anything that really excited me or really enraptured me, so yeah, it was just good. The next book I read for Polathon was Frostheart, which was the complete prompt for Arctic Adventure. I fell in love with this book. I gave this 5 stars and it was like just amazing. I loved everything about it. I loved the atmosphere, I loved the characters, I loved the story, the plotline was amazing. But I did really love the concept of this book, and the friendships in this book are amazing. Like, it's so adorable. So yeah, I absolutely fell in love with this book, and I loved the magical element in this. I thought it was different and I really enjoyed it. I'm really excited to read the second book. The next book I read for Polathon was A Court of Frost and Starlight. This was for the prompt to read a book with a foiled cover. As you can see, the title is foiled, and that's pretty much the only one I could fit in, because I was trying to make these all polar fantasy, and so I did my best. I really enjoyed being back in the world with Feyre and Rhysand. Obviously, it's not too exciting because it is just a short novella, but I really did enjoy just being back with the characters and seeing them in a different kind of setting, because usually we're seeing them with all this like chaos and drama going on, and yes, there is a bit of drama in here, but it's more like family drama, it's not like war drama. So I did really enjoy it. I think I gave this 4 stars, because again, it's just a short novella. It's nothing like fabulous or anything out of this world, but it was just nice being back. The other 2 books that I had for Polathon were A Winter's Promise, which was to fulfill the fantasy prompt, and I had The Polar Bears Explorers Club for the folklore prompt, but I didn't finish those. I just didn't have time, so I would have loved to get to those, but unfortunately I did not, and I wasn't prioritising them because I had such a large TBR for the rest of the month. Moving on to the books that I did read or did not read this month. So let's start off with a buddy read, Avowedly Bold and Deadly. Me and Brooke have been buddy reading the series, and we finally got to know what happens, and Connor from Connor's Library Corner kindly joined us on this last book, and let's say there was very mixed opinions. I think I gave this 3 stars. I feel like this whole series has just been a mixture of, do I like this or do I not? I didn't like the first book, but I liked the second book. This one was just a bit in the middle of like and dislike. Like, I liked some elements of it. I liked the ending, and that's pretty much most of what I liked. The first 200 pages of this were just boring. And I didn't enjoy the characters that much until like the end. And it is what it is. It's okay for a YA book. It's good for a YA book, but it's just, yeah, not the greatest trilogy that I've ever read. Then I read Assassin's Quest, which is the last book in the Frostheart trilogy. I gave this 5 stars. I absolutely loved this. As much of a chonker as it is, I absolutely fell in love with this. I did also use this for my buy a book prompt, because you guys said to buy an audiobook, and so I bought the audiobook of this to help me get through it. And honestly, I absolutely love the world that we're in. I love Robin Hobb's writing. I love the characters. I love Fitz. Fitz's journey has just been absolute, like, tragedy almost constantly throughout throughout the series. And this, oh my god, I feel so bad for him in this book. I absolutely detest Molly and Burwich. I can understand some things that happened, and I can understand their reasoning for it happening, but I just still hate that fact that things happened, and it's just completely unfair to Fitz. But the ending and everything that happened with Verity, I loved it, and it actually made me a bit emotional. The whole last 200 pages of this book, I was just enraptured. I could not put this book down. It was fantastic. And you know what? I really loved how things wrapped up at the end. I thought it was brilliant. Like, everything that happened with Verity and the Elderlings, it's just, yeah, this book was fantastic and it completely deserves my 5 stars. The next book I read was 11th Hour. This is one of my buddy reads of Connor. This is the 11th book in the Women's Murder Club series, if you couldn't tell by their book. This one was okay. This was one I've read before, and honestly, I don't think I liked it as much as I did the first time. It was good, it was decent, but it just didn't have the things that really intrigued me. Like, there are some of these books really have the intensity and chaos that I like in some of their cases. And this one it was okay. It's good. I'm pretty sure I just gave this 3 stars, which I've given most of these books because they're good, they're okay, there's nothing bad so much about them, but there's nothing absolutely mind-blowing about them. And obviously this is the 11th book in the series, so things are getting a bit repetitive, but I'm still enjoying it. I'm still enjoying the series. So, yeah. Also, I don't have the book on me. It's up on my shelf, but I did read Across the Green Grass Fields with Brooke. We've been buddy reading this series pretty much for almost a year now, I think. And this one, it was good. I gave this one 3 stars. It wasn't my favourite. I loved the world that we were in, but I didn't so much love the story. And it did throw me off a bit that we were just with some random character. Obviously, the other books do follow different characters, but we mostly met them all in the first book, I believe. So, yeah, I gave it 3 stars. It was good. I love being back in the world. I love Sean Maguire's writing style, but it was just good. It's okay. Not as amazing as some of the other books in the series, and definitely hasn't really climbed up to a favourite spot, but it was nice to be back in the world. I'm pretty sure I've said that way too many times now and I'm just repeating myself. So we're going to move on. So this is my only DNF of the month. A Little Life. I could not get on with this book. I did not get on with the writing style. I did not get on with the story. I did not get on with the characters. It's just, I went into this book a little naive, I think, and I just couldn't carry on. I think I got 200 pages in, I think, just over 200 pages, and it was just, I could not carry on. I really struggled with the writing style, and yeah, I wanted to read it, but I just physically couldn't, and thinking about it, this book just gives me a headache. And this was one of my challenges to read a 1,000-page book. I picked this one despite it only being 720 pages. I don't have any 1,000-page books, so I obviously didn't complete this prompt, but I did DNF it. So I did attempt to read it, and I did get 200 pages in, which I think is a fair amount considering it's 720 pages. So I did try. I just really could not get on with it. So unfortunately that was a DNF. But moving on to the last book that I finished this month, that I read 12th of Never. And this is an example of Almost Murder Club book that is actually really, really good. The chaos towards the end of the book was amazing. I love the intensity. I felt a lot of intense moments throughout this book, and I adored it. That is what I love about these books, when things get so intense that you don't know what's going to happen, and when something happens and you're not sure how it's going to turn out. Absolutely brilliant. And I loved everything. Despite a certain someone returning to work a little bit too early, in my opinion, this whole book was fantastic. I gave it 4 stars. It absolutely deserved it. And I cannot wait to continue and eventually finish off the series, despite it still being an ongoing series. Now, moving on to the books that I did not finish, we have my reread of Crescent City. This obviously was not a priority for me because I have, obviously read it before, and I didn't want to, make this priority when there were books that I haven't read that should have been priority. This was your pick for reading a book by my favourite author, that I wish you'd picked Throne of Glass because that would have fit for Tug Along. But anywho, I'm still going through this. I'm going to try and finish this in March. I'm at chapter 55, so I'm a fair bit through. Absolutely loving being back with Bryce and Hunt. Absolutely love them so much. And moving on to a buddy read with me. Me and Brooke and Connor have decided that we're going to try and buddy read all the Fairy Loot books because we all have a subscription. And we all tried this. First of all, Brooke DNF'd it, and then Connor DNF'd it. And so I was the only one reading it. And I've temporarily put it down. Because I like the concept, and some bits intrigue me. But I think because they both DNF'd it really quickly, I was just a bit like, oh, it's not going to be as good as I want it to be. So I've temporarily put it down because I do actually want to try and finish it. But I just think if I try and do it now, I'm going to have other people's opinions guiding my opinions on it. And I don't want that to be the case. So I've put it down and I'm going to read it after I've forgotten that both Brooke and Connor DNF'd it pretty much instantly. And now for the books that I didn't get to, City of Brass. I think this was a bad month to pick this book because me and Brooke had multiple buddy reads ongoing anyway. But now that we've finished a trilogy, one of our buddy reads, I think we can finally get to this. This book is actually crossing over onto March anyway, because it's on my March TBR. So hopefully we can get to this one this month because we don't have any other buddy reads lined up. Fingers crossed that we do, because we seem to be terrible at getting started, but once we get started, we're good. But this was also the book that you picked for my book with 2 points of views. Sadly, I did not finish it, or even start it, but fingers crossed for March. And the final book that I did not get to, and I knew I wasn't going to get to it, was Classical Indian Philosophy. Now, I do really want to get to this book, but I think because last month was just so filled up with large books, this one very quickly became less of a priority, considering it's going to be one of the first non-fiction books that I really delve into, because I don't typically read non-fiction. This very quickly was just put down further and further on my priority list, and I prioritized other books, and so I didn't get to it, unfortunately, but I do hope to get to this sometime soon. So in total, I didn't finish 4 books, DNF'd 1, and I read 8 books. So not a bad reading month for me. I think it was okay. It's above my average, to be honest, because usually it's 6. But so 8's good because that's between 6 and 10, which it can vary. So I think I did okay. I only completed 2. Did I even complete 2 prompts? I didn't. I completed 1 prompt, which was to buy an audiobook, and I did not complete these. So this was an epic failure. if we're talking prompt-wise. Let me know what your favourite book of February was. I think mine was 100% Assassin's Quest. 100%. So good. Anyway, I'll see you guys in my next video.